The rocket attacks in Israel, the images of flashbangs flying in the skies, the images of Hamas fighters on the streets. They all make one thing absolutely clear. Hamas is not alone. Its stockpile has not been exhausted. It still has reinforcements flowing in. This is despite Israel's retaliation. In the last 72 hours, Israel has struck Hamas hideouts, carried targeted strikes on its camps and killed a host of its fighters. Yet, Hamas still stands. How? On its D-Day alone, it launched more than 5,000 rockets into Israel. One would assume this would have exhausted its arsenal, but no, there are still rockets being fired. How many does Hamas really have? Experts say it's nearly impossible to estimate. In 2005, when Israel withdrew from Gaza, Hamas allegedly established a covert supply route with Iran and Egypt. This route included an intricate tunnel network. It apparently runs beneath the Egypt-Gaza border, remaining largely hidden from the global community. Are these hidden networks the reason why the US is rushing to choke the water surrounding the Gaza Strip? Are they the reason why the US Navy is deploying its strike force in the region? Is the aim to provide intelligence to Israel about Hamas's movements? Well, we shall never really know. And to understand the chaotic situation better currently in Gaza and how the situation could play out, we are now being joined by Frederick H. Fleitz from Washington, D.C. He is the former NSC Chief of Staff and a CIA analyst. Frederick, welcome to WION.
Good to be here.
The visuals coming in from both sides of this war are terrifying. I think the biggest question at this point is, how did we get here? Did American intel also not see this coming?
I think that's the question everyone's asking right now. Obviously, American intelligence did not see it coming, but Israeli intelligence, the Mossad, has one of the best capabilities in the world, human sources in Gaza, electronic surveillance, and somehow Hamas was able to evade Israeli and American intelligence. And I think the way it did that was not just an understanding of the capabilities of these intelligence agencies, but Hamas had a great deal of help. I think the Iranians were working very closely with Hamas to plan for this operation and to also to teach Hamas operational security so preparations for this vicious attack would not be detected.
Right. Now, let's review things as they stand as of now. We know that negotiations are on between Qatar and Hamas. What's your reading of the hostage situation? What can you tell us about their condition?
It's a very dire situation. Israel wants to free these hostages, but we're going to talk about Qatar. Qatar harbors Palestinian leaders, and there's also Palestinian leaders, Hamas leaders. There's Hamas leaders living in Turkey. And I believe enormous pressure should be put on Qatar and Turkey and anyone else who enables this vicious terrorist, Nazi-like terrorist organization to turn these leaders over so they can face justice in an international tribunal.
Right, absolutely. Frederick, thank you so much for all your insights. Thanks for joining us on WION.
Good to be here.
Now, before I end the show tonight, I want to know, what does Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau want? Why is he continuing his mischief? The Canadian Prime Minister has once again raised eyebrows, courtesy this tweet. Let me read out what he posted on X, formerly Twitter. On the phone today, His Highness Mohammed bin Zayed and I spoke about the current situation in Israel. We expressed our deep concern and discussed the need to protect civilian life. So far, so good. But here comes the problematic part. The same post read, and I quote, "We also spoke about India and the importance of upholding and respecting the rule of law." Yes, Trudeau spoke to the President of the UAE, a close friend of India. Then he put what's happening in Israel and Canada's row with India in the same post, as if the urgency is in any way comparable. And if that wasn't enough, he also preached the rule of law to India. Why, Mr. Trudeau, why can't you just move on? All your allies have. Why are you still pushing your shaky agenda? Canada has received scanty support from its allies. The most notable silence has come from the US. 20 days have passed. President Joe Biden hasn't made any public statement. Besides tepid statements about some officials, the US has maintained a safe distance from this row. As for the UK, Trudeau also cried foul to Prime Minister Sunak. And what did Downing Street have to say? In a statement, it expressed hope for de-escalation in the India-Canada diplomatic row. Now, Canada may be tolerant of terrorism on its soil, but the UK says it is not. Prime Minister Sunak has made statements to act against Khalistani terrorists. Last month, before coming to India for the G20, Sunak said that he was working closely with India to tackle the threat from Khalistanis. As per reports, the British Prime Minister plans to visit India again by October end. This will be his second visit in less than 2 months. India and the UK are also in talks for a free trade agreement. If signed, the agreement would be a boost for India and British trade ties. Does Trudeau think the UK will back India? Canada stands largely isolated on the global stage at this point. The US and the UK haven't done much. So Trudeau tried his luck with the UAE. He tried to provoke one of India's most important friends. Little does he know that India-UAE ties are too strong to be shaken by his unfounded claims. These countries have been friends since 1972. There have been high-level bilateral visits between the two sides from time to time. In fact, only last week, the India-UAE high-level joint task force meeting took place. The two friends are part of several multilateral platforms, such as the I2U2. When India hosted the G20 summit last month, it invited the UAE as a guest country. The UAE is the second largest export destination of India. Last year, it was India's third largest trading partner. Need I tell you more? The bottom line is, India and the UAE ties run deep, and if Trudeau thinks he can win the UAE's favor through one phone call and some baseless claims, he would be delusional, to say the least. Trudeau is yet to present any evidence for his so-called credible allegations against India. Once again, I'll raise the same question. Where is the proof, Mr. Trudeau? Let me be clear, this whipper-snapper leader's unfounded claims are not going to disturb these strong ties. Israel is at war, Gaza is under siege. The Middle East is jolted by violence. The news cycle has played out shocking visuals through the day. It's shocked us, outraged us, made us hold on to our loved ones and thank our stars that we're safe at home. We've seen it all in the last 48 hours or so: body bags, cries for help, rubble, destruction, mayhem, grief, all as far as the eyes can see. On Gravitas tonight, I'll tell you what's happened in the last 24 hours. I'll tell you about Israel's nightmare at dawn. Young adults were grooving to music when rockets rained down on them. Hamas entered the territory on motorized paragliders and launched an assault from air and land. The blaring music was drowned out by blaring rockets as a sea of people screamed and ran for cover. Where are the hostages? What happened to the Israeli hostages that were taken by Hamas? It's a question we will keep asking on Gravitas. Little to nothing is known about them right now. Remember, women, babies and those with disabilities are thought to have been taken by Hamas. What state are they in? As Israel vows vengeance, our heart goes out to the families of the hostages. Their pleas for help are being drowned out by the sound of explosions. In a war between Israel and Hamas, we cannot and should not forget about Gaza. Israel says the Gaza Strip is under a complete blockade. No food, water, fuel or electricity can reach this narrow strip of land, which is home to more than 2 million Palestinians. Gaza is under siege. We tell you about the horror unfolding on ground. Stay with me. We begin the show with news that's breaking now. Here are 4 big developments. 1. Qatar is holding urgent calls with Hamas to negotiate the release of Israeli women and children that have been taken captive by its fighters in Gaza. In exchange, Qatar is negotiating the release of 30 Palestinian citizens. This figure mostly includes women and children. Qatar's foreign ministry says it has initiated talks with both Israel and Hamas. Development number 2. Israeli soldiers have killed 2 gunmen along the Lebanon border. These gunmen infiltrated into the Israeli side earlier this evening. Who were they? Did they belong to Hezbollah? There's no clarity on this yet. But if they were indeed from Hezbollah, then this could open a possible new front in Israel's ongoing war against Hamas. That brings me to development number 3. There are reports of mass casualties at a refugee camp in the Gaza Strip. Reports say dozens of people were killed in an Israeli strike on the camp. Footage from the site shows several buildings engulfed in plumes of smoke. And development number 4. The Arab League is going to meet on Wednesday for an extraordinary session. The aim will be to discuss a resolution to this conflict. Attending this meeting would be the foreign ministers of all member states.